I often get this question from people or some variation of this question, and it also comes up in my own thinking as well. And the question goes something like that: how to make sure this doesn't go wrong or fail or go south or blow up, right? How do I make sure this doesn't go south? How do I make sure this doesn't blow up, right? How do I plan if this goes wrong? What is like my plan B? What is my plan C? And so on, right? And basically, the question is, how do I plan for the worst case? And another variation of the same line of questioning is, what if this is not the right way? Or how do I know if I am making the right choice? And how can I be sure that that never happens, that the worst case never happens? Um, and they are perfectly reasonable questions to ask ourselves, right? And that is why me and you and everybody asks those questions. And the problem is that having an answer to the worst case scenario will make the worst case scenario more likely to happen, and the best case scenario less likely to happen. Let me repeat that again, right? Because it can be a paradox. The only problem with asking questions and even having an answer to questions like that, how do I avoid the worst case scenario, is that it will make the worst case scenario more likely to happen and the best case scenario less likely to happen. So let me explain this, right? That you are going after your dreams. Whatever that you're going after, this matters to you. And I get it, right? That is amazing. And which is why you are afraid, which is why you experience fear, right? Which is why you are anxious and you fear the worst case scenario, right? You don't want failure to happen. You don't want this to go south. I get it. And that is what our brains are designed for, right? Our brain wants to keep us safe. That is what the purpose of the brain is. And because of which it looks for the worst case scenario and plans for it so that it can avoid it, right? Nothing wrong with that. But you only see in life what you go looking for. And you always see what you go looking for. So if you're looking for the worst case scenario to avoid the worst case scenario, nothing wrong with that. But guess what will you see? You will see the worst case scenario. You will see problems and challenges. It's the same thing, right? If you're driving a bike, the way to not fall is to not look down on the road. It is to look ahead at the path. And looking down on the road or avoiding the worst case scenario, nothing wrong with that. But that is playing not to lose. That is not playing to win. See, the problem is that by preparing for the worst case scenario, you will overlook all the opportunities to win. You will overlook all the areas where the upside is very high in your day to day. And as you prepare for the worst case, you will see what is wrong. And you will see what could go wrong all the time around you. And you always find what you go looking for. You have ever thought of buying a car and then seeing the same car all over the road? See, the car was already there, but it's like you were not looking for it. And when you started to look for it, it was all over the place. Because you always find what you go looking for. See, the future is uncertain, right? The worst case scenario might happen. Nobody can deny that. And sooner or later, that can happen, because no matter how much you plan, nobody can plan for everything, right? So accept that as a possible scenario. Don't fight it. Don't waste your energy fighting the uncertainty of life, right? So the uncertainty of life is not a problem of life. It is the way that life is. Accept it. Accept it, not like you give up to it, but to see the beauty in it, right? That is the way life is. You don't have to fight the way things are. And you are not going to find focus and capitalize on all the opportunities lying around you if you're not looking for them. If you're looking for the worst case, you will see what could go wrong. You will not see what could work well. You will not even see what could be the amazing opportunities right in front of you. And even worse, you put yourself under tremendous pressure, irrespective of whether you fail or not, when you're trying to avoid the worst case scenario at all cost, right? Even if you win, you are back to focusing on the next risk or what might go wrong next. And when you lose, then you want to prepare even more. You want to prepare even better on the plan B, C, D, E. And that is like being in a hole and digging, keeping on digging because you want to get out of the hole. And that doesn't work. Life doesn't work that way. When you try to avoid the worst case at all costs, you take measured steps. You take no bold steps, which undermine your ability to do whatever that you're doing. It brings you closer to the worst case scenario rather than take you away from it. And it takes you further from the best case scenario rather than bringing you closer to it. So stop playing not to lose and start playing to win. I mean, that is the whole purpose behind playing, right? Whatever that you're doing with your life, with your work, you want to win. So start playing to win. There's a very different energy in playing not to lose compared to playing to win. I will share a Japanese story which samurai fighters has a way of practice. So what they practice is they try to visualize and totally accept dying before going into a battle. What this practice does is it allows a warrior to enter a combat fight without fear of death, because they had already brought themselves to that acceptance of death as an outcome, of death as a possibility. No matter how good they are, death might happen in a combat fight, in a samurai fight. And when a warrior can honor that, can see that possibility for what it is, the warrior experiences freedom and they are able to give themselves fully to that fight, to their mission, without concern for survival. And with that freedom, that makes all the difference between defeat and victory. They play full out, they go out and fight, and they bring out the best in them because they are open to the possibility of that. And that is a paradox. To be open to the possibility of failure makes you more committed in action and more likely to succeed, not the other way around. And that's a mind bender, right? To be open to the possibility of failure makes you more committed to what you're doing and more likely to succeed, not the other way around. See, freeing yourself from the illusion that you can control life so that it turns out the way it should means that you accept defeat as a plausible outcome, When you free yourself from that illusion that you can control life and you can make life turn out the way that you want. See, life will turn out the way it does, not the way you think it should or should not. When you accept that it can unfold as you don't want, when you accept that defeat as a plausible outcome, then you experience freedom. Then you can be free, then you can be bold, and you can move closer to the best case scenario rather than to the worst case scenario. Whatever it is that you're going to do next, right? Define failure, could be big or small, and be open to that possibility. Don't try to not even see that there is possibility of failure. And the failure might happen, accept it. And it might take a while to accept it, to get into complete acceptance with that. But you will see that your performance will go up. You will see that you will experience freedom, and that will allow you to be more free. That will allow you to be more passionate, more in the fight rather than more in your mind, trying to avoid the worst case scenario. So if you can die before going into any battle, your performance will go up because you will experience a level of freedom, because you're not denying what could be possible, no matter how well prepared. So until the next time, keep choosing leadership.